this list, could you add it to the list, and could you use the name that's on your degree certificate? Because I can't tell you how many times we have somebody who doesn't know what it is because you're using another name that's not quite the one registered with. What is your registered with? And then if we also have your ID number, one or two people have put their BLE number. I prefer the ID number if that's possible. So if you've got a BLE number, so we've got people in twos. I think the next stage is for and against. So I'll pass this around. My only hesitancy is about saying who you're against. So it comes with a warning. It comes with, I don't want you to start chatting to the opposition, as it were, and choreograph the whole thing. So we're going to say this, and you're going to reply that. Because I've had the worst ones are when everybody's written down what they're going to say, and it's like a play. And all you're doing is reading out. It might be really good stuff, but it's sort of like a play, but you're sort of reading it, so it's not like, it's like a chord play. And it doesn't really work. Because the debate is listening what the other person has to say and interjecting when the opportunity arises. So it's not so much how much you say, but those telling interjections which might be very point scoring. So we let's say we can have for and against. For and against. I don't think it makes much difference. It's just the flip side of the coin. And then we know what we have to do, and then we'll have a look at the assessment. Some of you say you're a bit uncertain about it, and I'll go through it with you again as to what is required. This week, which is the end of August, the end of July. So we're on week 5. So it's 6 weeks. So we've got plenty of time. Press the panic button yet. If there are things you don't understand, it's because we haven't covered them as yet. But we will be doing it. So, start off here, and if you don't have them right now, yeah. So we've got 11 teams, but we can have a 12, 13, and 14 team. So it's important that you know who you are working with, so you've already sort of decided that.
What we need to do?
If everyone chooses,
we have to choose. I said he was choosing. Now we have to choose.
yeah, he said.
We need to choose, but we need to choose the same.
Same, yeah.
My question is
How we know?
We were discussing the situation I don't know. Funziona già.
Says we are two people in department. Says here for example, we have to choose the one, just the one specific sector, no company sector we're talking about. We are talking about two people, same sector, or we can choose the different sectors.
I think it's a good point, isn't it? I'm not sure this assessment has been very carefully thought through. They're suggesting one sector because we haven't got very much time to discuss this. Once again, undergraduates are given 7 minutes across the university. So the tariff should remain the same, although sometimes it's I think this is 40%. Yeah, 40%. Sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's and postgraduate students 9 minutes. So that's sort of like the maximum amount of time. I'm thinking each group about half an hour. So, in order to perhaps try and make it not too broad, with 4 people all talking about different sectors and going off in every which way, maybe it would be helpful if you perhaps focus your thoughts on a particular sector. So maybe you say finance, maybe you say hospitality. Say marketing, whatever it may be. However, I don't think I would be restrictive if you've got a nice example of something from a very different sector altogether. Suddenly you say, in motor manufacturing, this was the case. So I think that sector I think is helpful for you because maybe you don't have to look at everything. Maybe you can focus on the question, which, if I remind you, how can leaders make humans and robots work together in a multicultural workforce to promote sustainability, etc. Now, my thought about many of these assessments is that they're sort of difficult and overly complex. But I know why the course organizer has written this, because they're told that they have to cover all the things learning outcomes. And the learning outcomes are obviously leadership, multicultural, social leadership, and there are a couple of other areas there which we're beginning to talk about now, which is ethics, social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, ESG, environmental, social governance, and sustainability, which is the catchword of the moment. That's a lot. Those are big, big topics. Corporate social responsibility, huge. Sustainability, huge. Leadership, huge. Cross-culture, huge. And then if we say any sector in any country in the world, really huge. So we could all be talking about something different. So what we're trying to do is trying to funnel in a little bit, because we've got half an hour really maximum, and we've got 4 people who are speaking. It's about 7 minutes. So it's not very long. So I think in the discussion we're trying to keep it simple. Simple is good. Nice, easy examples for us all to understand. So what's it all about? Arguing that leaders can bring together hearts and chips to create a more sustainable, responsible organisation. Specific examples from chosen industry. I think what may be good is, and therefore if you do know who you're debating, if you choose perhaps a sector. So that may be useful. Maybe you choose a couple of sectors. I don't really mind. Otherwise, we might be talking about apples and oranges rather than pineapples. We've all got something to say, but it's all in a different sector, and it's really quite different. Yes.
Just to add, because we are 2 in the group,
Yes.
and we both should be pro and against. Shouldn't we, first of all, I think, teamed up, like for the pro and against teams, and then choose the industry? So we're not, pro one industry and against another industry?
That's fine. So what we're doing now is
Make sense?
we're going to decide whether we're pro. We're in twos. Are we a pro and are we against? And I'm quite happy, I think, for you to know who you are debating against. Okay, so we're in twos, but we know the other two, who the other two is. Then, if you want to decide what the context of your discussion is, that's fine.
Yeah.
What I don't want is a loving between you.
Right, okay, I'm lost, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really lost.
Me
so
too.
if the debate is two people, one against the other,
No, two against two.
two against two.
Yeah.
So basically, it's going to be a group of four, not a group of two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So, which means that we have to decide together who's going pro, who's going against.
Correct?
And industry.
Don't you want to do that, or do you want us to choose?
I'm quite happy for you to choose whether you're pro or against. So we have this piece of paper going
So basically, because we can choose the group of four, we also can choose the industry where we're going to. So the question with what industry I'm going to choose, and if that's going to happen during the exam, that's a little bit childish.
Sorry,
Because if we can choose our groups, which it
Yeah.
is 4 people,
Yes, happy with
2
that.
and 2,
Yeah.
we can also choose the industry, and we can also choose the 2 that are pro and the 2 that are against.
That's what
We're going to discuss.
Happy with that. A little bit of a question mark over the second.
The industry.
Whether the four of you, do you think the four of you can choose the sector that you want to talk about?
That's what we should do, because we should be on the same page.
That's what I was just saying. That's what Barbara said.
So I don't understand
Yeah,
the
I'm talking
question that
about-
somebody else put earlier. Why do we have to prepare ourselves in different industries before the exam? No, we can all choose the same industry, because that's what we should do
Well,
as a group.
I think the assignment should probably state
It's coming from
the
different
industry,
It's an exam.
because if we are 2 pro and 2 against, and I don't know if I'm pro or against yet, or who I'm going to be pro or against too, so we don't discuss different industries.
Everybody's lost in class.
okay,
I hope it
fine.
makes sense.
So consensus is
I'm coming from
I'm just
we're
following the
choosing
blog. There
our
is something I'm gonna miss.
we're choosing our groups of 4.
Maureen, where you going?
Basically,
Guys, right.
Choosing our groups of 4. Quite happy with that. Choosing who's for and who's against. Quite happy with that. And if you want to select a major industry, which may or may not be quite so easy, you might find slight disagreements there. But if you can do that amongst yourselves, that would be useful. So if we could do that, if you could indicate on that sheet of paper as it goes round, that would be good. So are we comfortable with that? Having said that, if you've got interesting examples from elsewhere, I don't know whether I would say that it would be inappropriate or incorrect to mention those. So we can have a major industry. You know, you could say banking, for instance. But I don't know whether that completely precludes you from mentioning anything other than banking. I don't want you to think I can only talk about banking, but that should be your main focus. That's your choice.
And that was the question behind it, because if, let's say, for example, I'm coming from the medical social care background, right? Somebody else in my team are coming from business, simple, pure background. We're going to have to choose one of them two that we're going to have to speak about, right? Because I can't bring arguments from my domain because they're not going to fit with his.
Yeah,
So that's what I wanted to point out. We as a team have to decide which area we're going to cover because I can't come prepared from the medical background
Exactly.
with the leadership that I've got going into the business or anything else because they're not going to work. So we have to choose for the exam, all four of us together, what we're going to debate. Now, who's going to be against, who's going to be pro, that's going to be easy. We're going to flip a coin. Or we're going to draw straws
It's a big
or
challenge.
something. We don't have to talk about what we're going to say, but we're going to have to get prepared in one domain.
Okay, yeah.
The assignment
Could I
is
say
not really
something?
clear.
Well, we can do that. We can do that now, can't we?
So, John,
We can pass this around. You can choose the groups of four. You can choose the domain. I only thought about the domain
We need
is
to talk about the same industry because
this robotics stuff.
No, because it's
Some sectors are much less
you're talking about social care and I'm talking about television.
than
What can
Go
I
in
say
NHS.
about that?
others.
This is the
Yeah, how are we doing on robots nearly?
Well, you don't really, unless you were going to the lab area or
Maybe
something.
the operations, maybe
Yeah, surgery.
Laparoscopic area or theaters, yes,
maybe-
but it's still not going to be strong enough to fight with accountancy.
So I think we say that depending on your sector might depend on. But this is very hard to debate, isn't it? It might mean that the robotics aspects it isn't very much in the fore. Others might choose remote manufacturing, where maybe robotics are very much.
No, but that's still going to be difficult.
So,
Because like
John,
you said, we are all coming from different backgrounds.
Well, in your twos
Yeah.
and in your fours, you have to come up with a comfortable sector that you're happy to speak about.
okay.
So we have to
So you have to discuss
another twos.
okay.
You need to
So
prepare
I
with
was
another two
suggesting,
people.
Since we have all this confusion, right? You being the teacher, we could just think, because we're all here, it's the international business, right?
Yeah.
With different things.
Yeah.
Yes? International business with your own specialty, like mine is administration. Other people are different. So why can't we just stick to international business generally instead of the niche?
It's too varied.
No, it's
I
Because
think-
so that there's no confusion. It's
in
just
the
stick to
end,
international
big
business
area.
and then
It's huge.
you remove every other thing. But that would be a good way because
It's the
then
same.
you can now see both the human side and the robotic side.
It should have been in the assignment at least 3 different
Managing sense.
industries to choose
Ah,
from.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like
Exactly.
they did in
And the
marketing
answer
with the
to
companies.
the answer to your concern,
It's like that in our Thursday class.
the answer to your concern was
There are
as
3
you
to choose
nicely
from.
I like
presented.
the marketing with the
If you
companies.
prepare for one sector, it might not work very well in discussion if others are talking about different aspects of international business.
Exactly.
So the thing is, within your groups of four, you've got to cozy up a little bit and make a decision about
The sector
a
that
sector that the four of you feel comfortable
Okay.
with
So we have
within the remit
That
of
can be
international business, which is
grade
your
them on the
sector
so
overriding
we
dreams.
it can be
Easy thing, isn't it?
someone.
So there are various levels. So let's just go through this one by one.
I'm just trying to understand.
Are we listening? We're in twos, but I want to now know groups of four. I also want to know anybody who's not pop their downstairs.
And just pay attention.
Okay, so we're in fours. Next thing, who's for and who's against? If we can
Okay.
indicate that on my little spreadsheet, I shall make necessary changes. Once you're in fours, then maybe
Paper is somewhere.
the first half an hour of the afternoon or starting from now, physically you could get into your groups of four and you could decide on what the sector is that you feel comfortable with.
It's
And it
better.
can be quite a broad
Now,
sector, although it talks about just the industry. Well, the industry suggests those.
Well, did you set this? Was it me that set this class?
No, the modulator.
mi
Personality
pregunta es,
or
Not the principal.
¿quién elige los otros dos?
or so
There are
we
good
could
too.
just focus on social responsibility
Who choose the other
as a
two people?
topic for sustainability. One of the
Yeah, I understand that.
I wanna debate with this.
So look, you've only got half an hour to do justice to leadership, cross-culture, stakeholding, and sustainability is quite a difficult task. If you find yourself in the debate, because it's not supposed to be written down that you're reading out, it's a discussion, you might go in any direction and you might go into a different direction than you anticipated because there are three other people talking that you have to respond to. So it may well be that you spend much of your time talking about sustainability. It may well be that you spend much of your time talking about robots. So it may well be talking about cross-cultural matters. To say within that half an hour you've got an equal divide, minute by minute, I'm not there with a stopwatch, it's not in slow motion. The debate will go where the debate goes. Let me reassure you, it is going to be assessed positively, maybe a bit benignly. Generally, students get better results on these practical exercises than they do on the report. So I want to take away any sort of fear from you as to what mark you're going to get. As long as you say something, as long as it is reasonably expressed, as long as there's some evidence that you're listening to other people and responding to them, you need to get a mark for that. But if you come armed with some facts and figures and examples and an idea of, because we're all struggling with this, we're not quite sure what the impact of AI and robotics is going to be in the next, well, there's another thing. What sort of time frame we talk about? We're talking about the next 2 years, I'm talking about the next 20 years. You tell me in your discussions, and we've got a myriad of opinions as to what's going to happen next. The general consensus, though, is this is significant. This is major. This is the biggest technological development since the silicon chip, and all the developments that came from that. There's some suggestion already, it's beginning to hit the labour force. There's been an uptick in unemployment, and you're beginning to hear from banks and law firms and consultancies they're not hiring as many people this summer because they're finding productivity has increased quite markedly with the very early stages of AI that they are introducing. And if the experts are correct, suggesting that we are going to get massive improvements in productivity. And I think I said to you before, it's really interesting. I thought software engineers would be the job to have. Coders would be the job to have at the moment. But the latest labour market trend is that they are the first to be affected, maybe 30% down on where we were a year ago, because who's writing the code? It's not coders anymore, it's artificial intelligence. Coders are a bit surplus to requirement. Who would have thought, who would have anticipated that a few years ago? So, that's where we are in the debate. Anybody's idea is probably as good as the next person's idea. So, to answer your question, if you talk a lot about sustainability, you don't do justice to other things, and that's where the debate takes you, that's fine. you have got 3 other people, you've got 2 people opposing you. They might not want to talk about sustainability, they might want to talk about something else, so they may take you in another direction. So I don't think you can just say, I'm going to look at this, because you might be caught out, the conversation might move into other areas where you're expected to have time. Anyway, does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
So, what I want, first will be good. Okay, job number 1, we need groups of 4. Yeah?
Okay.
Now, I could give you groups of 4, but I don't think that works as well as you choose it. For all sorts of social reasons.
We don't know each other.
We are mixed like from 3 or 4 different backgrounds.
Would you like me to choose the groups of 4?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I really don't mind.
We choose
I have a yes and I have a no.
No, it's either
With someone we don't know.
Wait.
I think, from my experience, it works best if you're comfortable with people that you're working with. It works best if you're in friendship groups. It works best if you regularly come together. And there will be better groups and some good groups. I think it's better if it comes from you. I'm quite happy to do it. But then I can't tell you how many times people come to me and say, X hasn't answered any of my emails, I never see them, I don't like them, they're rude to me, aggressive male, aggressive female, and there's problems. All I'm asking you to find one other person in this room of like-minded, young, bright, intelligent, attractive people to work with.
What do you think?
When you go to work, do you get a choice of who you work with?
No.
No. You have to work with whoever's there.
That's why we would like you to choose who we would.
But it's nice if you can choose somebody.
Come on now, we
You
are
don't have the
adults.
choice, but you don't have the choice when you're going to a new workplace. But you build up relationships, and in time,
What do you do?
the best option is you're going to see the best results from people that
Un
work
flyer.
To post social media for our webinar.
This is the only class we have together.
Okay, so
You know that when somebody
Hola,
irritates you,
gira
you're
la
not
chica.
going to give 100%.
Nunca nos pongan a mirar hacia afuera.
It's better
Ponnos a
to
mirar
find
hacia
somebody
adentro.
that you don't recognize.
¿Sabes?
look, this is not,
No.
guys,
Gira.
this is not
Nos la pones
rocket
girar.
science.
All right, Julia, is there someone in this club that doesn't irritate you?
Te pones
Does or doesn't?
la gira.
Doesn't.
During lunchtime,
No,
take
gira.
a piece of paper, where's the piece of paper?
Gírala, porque es que
Where's the piece of paper?
tienen que mirar hacia adentro, no hacia afuera.
No,
Ah, también, sí, también. Sí. Sí, pero es más trabajo, tienes que mover las letras.
I need groups of 4. Yeah? Job number 1. Job number 2.
Hello.
Yes.
Job number 2, groups of 4. Job number 2, 4, and again. Okay? If we've got that, we're pretty close to you knowing who you're working with and who you're going to be discussing things with. Okay? In terms of the actual question, we reveal more as we go on. So if you say to me, I don't quite know what it's all about, well, that's because we've got another 5 weeks of lectures to give. We haven't covered stakeholding, we haven't covered sustainability, we haven't covered ethics, but we will do. So I have confidence it will be fine. So, have we got agreement on this? Yes, so groups of 4, and then if you can choose a context, that would be good as well.
Okay.
Sir, can we talk about structure when we talk about
We have the group here, don't worry.
I listen. It is.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
But so what industry we can choose? For example, what industry? You were in hospitality, I were in events hospitality, something like that. Francesco the same. But 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 the question is how we
I'm not sure. Like McDonald's, they have
we need to relate the topic of this the topic for the assignment according with our experience and the industry we're talking about, you know. This is now is more and now is
because I was thinking to talk about generally, but I was too wide.
he don't know. He's lost. You could complain about me now because I lost. He's 300% for lost.
Because you forget the
Oh.
No, it looks like we did.
Yes, we're there.
Okay, this class is finished.